Loud, yes. And hello and welcome to Sounds Good to Me, Rhythm and Sounds today. Hello, my friend Elaine.
Hello.
And Robert driving in his car, also in New Zealand. And here I am in Las Vegas. Whoop, 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 whoop. Welcome. Hi, Elaine. How's it going?
I'm good, Karen. How are you?
I'm feeling good. I was just saying I had the Access Consciousness bars today, and I had a Reiki session, which was wonderful. So I guess I'm kind of like floating on cloud nine, and a glass of wine with dinner. So I'm feeling very la-di-da.
Very nice. I'm being very British and having a cup of tea.
Oh, there it is. A cup of tea with a French press.
Yes.
How very
I'm being different. Cup of tea was slightly different.
Yeah, we're here, and we're inviting people to join us. We have yet to get people to put us on their calendar, but we're here, and we're consistent, and we're continuously continuing our conversation. And how does it get any better than that? Yes, sound. We are sound people. We are facilitators of sound, which really sound is everywhere. So I guess sound actually facilitates us on many levels.
Interesting. And you thrown in the rhythms this time.
Yes. I'm going to bang my. Okay, that's enough.
Yeah, what do you know about sound and rhythm and maybe what
it's so funny because I was thinking about what we were going to talk about today, and one of the things that I've been I got turned on YouTube. I browse around YouTube a lot, especially because I teach voice, and my students always get me on YouTube with karaoke tracks and everything, which is great. And one of the things that popped up is a series of videos called Spirit Science.
Oh yeah.
Look it out. They have these cartoon videos, and they explain things so beautifully.
They're brilliant, aren't they? I have seen that series.
Yeah. Yes. We recommend it to all of you to check it out. And one of them was talking about cycles, and I was thinking, well, cycles are rhythm, and our seasons are cycles, our years are cycles. They have a beautiful diagram that looks like, I don't know, like fish. One fish, these oval designs, one blending into the other, and then you have the larger cycles. And these patterns are rhythms, and we are all governed by rhythms. We are beautifully governed by rhythms, because rhythms are, our heartbeats have rhythms, but they're not consistent rhythms. People think that their heartbeats are bump, 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 bump consistently, but that is not true. They stop a little bit, and then they start again, and they'll do a pump, and then they'll do another double pump. It's never really a consistent rhythm, but it is a rhythm in and of itself. It's just not a charted rhythm, shall we say.
Yeah, interesting.
Right? Yeah, I read that in heartmath.org. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So what do you know about rhythm that you'd like to share today?
Well, when you said rhythm, the first thing that came to my awareness was about, I guess, repeating rhythms like mantras. And then people talking about, this is something I'd like to really look into, and I'm sure Robert might be able to contribute to this about repeating. When you're repeating a mantra, for example, it can create different pathways in your brain, in your neural pathways. So it's like, what is it about the repeating of a rhythm that can change our makeup? How the power of chanting and mantras has that kind of, that's what when I thought of when you said rhythm. Right. Not only the beats, but that just kind of repetitive.
Right. Well, isn't that melody. How we create our reality as well, right? I mean, when you're growing up, you hear a repeated pattern from your parents, and you buy into that pattern, and that pattern becomes you until you determine whether that pattern serves you or not, or hopefully you take a self-development course of some kind that gives you an awareness of, wow, you know what, that pattern really isn't working for me. Maybe I can change it. And a lot of times changing it is through another form of repetition. So yes, rhythms are such an integral part of being human on this planet. of humankind. That's how we learn, right? How many times did you write the alphabet before you could finally write it with ease? Same thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then what are we learning, or what are we trying to unlearn, if you like, that it's not congruent with our truth, I guess. And
Right.
so they maybe become dissonant, these different rhythms and patterns. So I don't know what Robert can hear us once he's driving.
Yeah, I can hear. I'm just kind of listening and think, wow, that's really interesting. I'm very much agree that that's how we learn. And well, as you're saying, our whole life is about rhythms, because we wake up in the morning and go through a cycle that we probably repeated lots of times with slight changes.
Mm.
So learning those repetitions of sequences is just basically how we function in the world. You know, it's how we do things, and then obviously we're putting variety into there and trying to do things differently. But a lot of the time, I think, as we get older, as we get into habits as well, we're carried along by a rhythm that we know, that we're familiar with. We might not even know it's going on, but it's going on.
Right, which makes for change to be very difficult.
To look at it musically,
yeah,
it makes for change to be difficult, and it's a part of it is probably like Gila was referring to. You know, it's a good thing, because if it's in tune with who we really are, then that's great. But a part of it might not be, like, you know, that feeling of, oh, I'm doing this every day, I keep doing it, it doesn't feel right, but I'm still doing it. You know, there's that side of it as well.
Right.
And it makes me. Sorry, go on, Robert. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it can be hard to change, like you're saying, even just brushing your teeth in a different way, you know, or shaving. Like, you know, I'm a guy, so I shave most mornings, and it's like I do it the same time, the same way every time. You know, I have to really think, no, I'm going to start on the left side today. That's going to really shake things up. You know?
Yeah, that's it. How easily can we break our patterns? Because I was just realizing that, because I'm packing my things after moving, there was a clock that I could really hear has a rhythm, has a click, click, tick, tick. And I was like, oh my God, am I being entrained by this clock?
Right.
And you hear of these tribes that they're more in touch with the insect life and around than their rhythms, and they're just in tune to different, perhaps, signals and rhythms. And I guess that's where a lot of the drum beats come from, is from those insect life, perhaps.
Right. I'm not familiar with. I mean, it's always fascinating to think about living with nature to that extent, because we've become so technologically, what shall I say, addicted, that the idea of, I mean, the people who go out and camp and like literally live in tents, and I haven't done that in years. But that is such a beautiful way of reconnecting to the natural rhythms that we really are a part of, but we quickly forget because of all this wonderful technology that we have.
Waking up to bird song,
Right.
Going to sleep to the sound of crickets.
Yeah.
Another thing like that is children in a more primitive society, they might be carried in a sash on the mother's back. So they've got the rhythm of the mother walking, her heartbeat, her breathing, her talking for years, you know, going into this little child. I think that can perhaps give a greater sense of rhythm and connectedness to bigger rhythms around them, you know, outside of themselves.
Right.
Which is maybe why a lot of more indigenous peoples, you know, they play more music in groups, or more rhythmic music, a lot of percussion.
Right. Lots of percussion. How many drum circles are going on as we speak, just based on rhythm? I had the pleasure of going to a drum workshop, I think it was last year, and I had never experienced the trance that they speak of when everyone's playing a certain rhythm. And I finally experienced it, and it was euphoric. It was amazing. I was like, oh, that's what everybody keeps talking about. I mean, of course, you know, on the dance floor when I was a teenager, or rather a young woman in my 20s, you do get a sense of that as well on the dance floor, with everybody dancing and following the same rhythm and following the same songs. It is akin to that. But when I was in that circle, it really was like mind-blowing how integral it was. It was so primitive, you know. It was like resonating in my blood. It felt like, you know.
Nice.
Yeah,
So cool.
I totally get that. I was at a festival last year, and the way back to my tent went past, like the last stop on the way to my tent was the tribal zone, where there was a big fire and a couple of teepees and this huge set of drums, so dancing and drumming. But it meant I never got home, because whenever I try to go home,
Uh-oh.
Wait, you're broken up there, but we're guessing that you couldn't get back to your tent.
Yeah, well, Robert is driving, so I could see it. I can already see it. You know, I can see the huge, you know, group of people and the atmosphere and the air and the smell of fire. Oh yeah, I've got this lovely.
I had to go past saying it was. But I get that for.
Oh, Robert, you keep breaking up, so we can't hear you.
He's in one of those zones that has no rhythm. Non-rhythm zone.
Pulses, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'll just listen until I get home, because there's not a very good connection here. And then when I'm home, I'll maybe chip in some more.
Okay. All right. Great. So yeah, I mean, how often are we taking the time to recognize the rhythms? Luckily, we do have seasons. I mean, yes, we have calendars and we have routines. And like when winter comes, we know that we pull out our winter clothes. So we change our routines a little bit. Maybe that's God's way of letting us know that there are rhythms and that we can change and choose, make different choices instead of following the same patterns all the time. I think that this reality is forcing us to change a little bit faster, because I think there's a huge shift, as we are a part of this shift in awareness that I think all of us are seeking on some level, whether we're conscious of it or not, to get back to this primitive part of ourselves, get back to the rhythms and the sounds that are
interesting. Yeah, is it back to, or like you said, creating something different? Because like we already said, we were talking about seasons, and I think around the world people going, oh, global warming, there's no distinct seasons as much anymore. And when you expect things to show up in a certain way, like autumn is always this, or April's always windy, or something like that. Right. We're kind of losing, or those patterns seems to be changing.
Shifting,
so
yes.
Are we now moving into a new rhythm? Are we now in that? Are we going through a transitional point? Are we going through a transition to, co-create a new rhythm that suits us all? That's less chaotic.
That's a bit chaotic right now, especially because we had one of the warmest winters we've ever had in Las Vegas. Yeah. And how was the summer there? Was it very, very warm as far as people were concerned?
It's very warm, but I'm hearing from other people shorter. I mean, like I've had to change my rhythm to go from the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere, so I still feel a little bit out of sync, if that's the word.
Right.
But how quickly can we adapt to that? It's interesting because I was just watching this guy about polyrhythms, which is, I think it's 2 or more rhythms that are being created, and he was just doing this experiment where I think he was playing around with the this is where my musicality is kind of limited, but the ratios of those polyrhythms, I think. And then when he played certain ones, they were quite harmonic, and he sped them up and it sounded like a chord. And he played some that were, I guess, disharmonic for some, and it kind of sounded a bit wonky or dissonant when he sped those up. So it's like, is that us? It's like when we're all trying to get to a new rhythm, and when we come to co-create, it can seem a bit disjointed, and sometimes seem harmonic and go together. So it's like, what rhythms are we creating within our own systems, and have we lost connection with each other? And when we come together in community, or find our vibe tribe. It can really sing really well, or it can be really, I guess, disharmonic,
Right.
or fraught or chaotic.
It's like going to a town hall in a town and listening to all the different points of view and the different rhythms that are running back and forth between people's points of view that are just not on the same frequency. They're incoherent with each other. And in fact, to the point they cannot hear each other because they're vibing in a completely different space. Very, very interesting that we would use sound from that point of view.
Yeah.
At any rate, and then I was thinking today, I went even further. I was like, wow, rhythm. So what about this? We're on a planet that's hurling through space. Okay. It's turning at a rhythm. It's turning in its axis at a rhythm. And then it's moving in a spiral, basically orbiting our sun at a rhythm, as all the other planets are. And we're kind of like in sync with each other at their own rhythms, but a kind of beautiful dance in and of itself. And then that is in the bigger macrocosm, and then that is in a bigger macrocosm of rhythms. And so this amazing symphony of rhythms that are going all the time.
And geometries as well. I'll just throw that one in there. Yeah, and that's something, I mean, the sound, so that's a huge topic. And I think is it the study of all those elements like mathematics, geometry, the things is called quadrivium, I think. And it's just really fascinating how all these things tie together. So the planets, like you said, and our Earth is just creating certain rhythms and geometrics and patterns that are really, really interesting and fascinating, and how people draw their inspiration from that.
Oh yeah, it's like crazy. It's almost like it's like mind blowing. It's like I try to grasp it, and it's like it like runs from me. It has its own rhythm running away.
Yeah.
But very cool. Very, very cool.
And interestingly, I guess what rhythms are people exposed to? I was watching them. I think I may have mentioned this before, but it's called The Science of Sound. There's a YouTube video with a panel of different specialists on sound, and there was a neuro scientist who was looking at the pattern of linguistics and speech, and how some of us are exposed to certain speeches and patterns of talking that even if you don't understand the language, you can kind of get what they're saying. It's like they're not in a good mood. And they go, why are they shouting at me? But there's a musicality to the rhythms and the pitches of the voice that we're used to, but then for some that we're not used to, it's kind of confusing, or like we don't understand what's happening or what's going on for that person.
Right.
Which I found really interesting.
Right, like they don't get the patterns, because then there are patterns in rhythm. It's like when I work with my voice students, I get them to make sounds I don't usually make. You do the same thing, Yile, when you get people to use the other side of their brain, so that I think that rhythm fundamentally is very, very primitive, and that means and artistic, and it really activates that part of the brain. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they actually do work together, because there still is rhythm in intellectual thought, right?
Okay.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there that even in how you form a sentence, there's a certain rhythm to it, so that it's understood.
Yeah.
More clearly. No, that just pops into my head, so I'm just following. So I'm going to shake my rattle. On that rhythmic note.
It's like those rattles and shakers. I don't know if Robert still can hear it. In my soundbite, I do have a rattle, but I go into because I feel like I'm not a rhythmic. I probably am on some level, but I'm not very consistent with the shakers, and I kind of I go into my head of it going, no, I'm not I'll do random rhythm and it'll throw people off.
It's really funny that drummers, at least the drummers I've worked with, the ones who are really good drummers usually can keep it really steady, right? But when they get a click from a machine, they can get a little sent off by the machine because they have a rhythm that's it's different. It's
Okay.
right. Okay. So I too, when I'm shaking, when I'm singing with the band, I have to really listen to the drummer sometimes because I have a tendency to slow down.
Okay.
So is that innate? I mean, does everyone have a tendency to slow down? Because not everybody can keep a steady rhythm like a drummer. That's why drummers are paid what they're paid.
Yeah.
You know?
I hats off to them because I didn't appreciate it before. And it's just like, oh my goodness, this is actually quite interesting because I couldn't sing and do the rhythm at the same time. It's like doing an abstract thing versus a rhythmic thing was kind of like really messing with my head.
It's like chewing gum and walking at the same time. Or what's that when you go around and you take Yeah, I'm not very good at that. I let other piano play. I can play the piano, but I don't. It's like that coordination. Sometimes I can't sing and do it at the same time. It's just too much for me. Hey, we all have our gifts, right? But I think that the era that we're in is it's a beautiful time to be alive because there's a lot of change in rhythm. There's a rhythm politically. There's a change in rhythm for women. There's a change in rhythm for the peoples of the planet who are stepping up and saying, "Hey, you big empires, stop bossing us around." You know, there's a change. The change you cannot avoid, and the rhythms that we're perceiving are such a keen part of that change because it's all right. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and what is it? Are we kind of like done with the pattern? Are we kind of like going? I find right. It's like kind of like dancing to waltz. I think I'm done with the waltz now. I'd like to try something else. Try a different rhythm and mix it up. Maybe mix the rhythms up. See what happens.
Right. Do you? I don't know if you get Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime is a streaming channel that you can get.
Oh, okay.
And they have a show called Mozart in the Jungle. And it's basically about this Mexican-American protege conductor. And he's conducting the New York Symphony. And it's his adventures with this New York Symphony. He travels the world. Goes all over the world to different places. And it's a great show. It really is for anyone who's musically inclined or not even. It's just brilliant because of the art in it and the dancers and everything. But he gets to one of the conductors who was the conductor before him. He does this whole experiment with a motorcycle. A motorcycle he puts with a small orchestra, like a chamber orchestra.
Wow. Okay.
Queens in New York. And it's brilliant. Then he takes like these hubcaps, they've been doing that with dance for a while, using, natural sounds to dance and tap dance and make sounds and, really cool stuff. But he does it in this TV series. You've got to check it out. Really, really well done. But I'm like, a motorcycle? Okay.
Fantastic.
Very modern sounds. I think that you guys have just went into like that moment.
And Robert's just joined us again. So we're just talking about kind of mixing up rhythms and patterns and sounds, contrasting rhythms.
Yeah,
and Karen, I don't know if you realize, but you've frozen.
Yeah, I'm kind of right. I thought it was my side, but it was Karen's side, maybe. Yeah.
All right, we're back.
Oh, cool.
And still recording. That's really quite remarkable.
Because I've got an angle at what's actually the difference between a rhythm and a tone. Because the tone is a frequency, right? So if you say a tone, let's say 432 hertz, people speak about A at the original tone. So 432 hertz, that's basically a cycle, 432 cycles every second.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that is
if you slowed that down to one cycle a second, we'd call it a rhythm, right? So what's actually the difference between a rhythm and a tone? Is it just, it's like sight and sound, very high frequencies we see them and low frequencies we hear them.
Right.
And maybe some frequencies we hear as a tone, other frequencies becomes a rhythm. So in a way,
good
a
question.
rhythm.
Is there a difference?
So a rhythm, well, in a way, a rhythm is sound within sound because you've got the tones in a rhythm. So it's like multiple layers of sound.
Well, if you think about it, if sound are waves, and that's a rhythm. Bum, 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 bum,
Yeah, exactly. It's just a very fast rhythm.
Exactly. So they're the same, aren't they?
They're the same, but I would say a rhythm is like if you're going me 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 me, then you've got maybe a frequency of 600 hertz going with a pulse of 2 hertz. So you've got like layers within layers.
Right. Well, maybe that's the harmonics of sound includes rhythm. The harmonics of sound would include. Except rhythm, I guess, just has there's a point where it's very loud.
Yeah, it's an on-off kind of thing, rather than a sine wave or whatever form. And what I think is interesting about that is that means you've got space in it. It's not a continual sound, you've got space. So it's a sound with space added into it. And that's part of the charm of rhythm. If you listen to a nice rhythm, you get into it, it's actually the anticipation of the beat coming. You know, it's like, I know the beat's coming, it's going to come. Yeah, there it is. You know, so you've got that kind of, you're enjoying the space.
So my next question, is it really space, or are we, is there really space? I mean, because the sound never really ends. It's just in our minds that it ends. It appears to be space.
I just went into space then.
It's space, but we're filling it. I mean, the fact that it's not served on a plate, you know, like the beat is there, that's already provided, and the bit in between, you can fill it with whatever you like. Maybe it's not space in that sense, but it's.
But for what we perceive on this, in this reality, definitely there is space. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Because, and then, you know, you've had great musicians that have said that music, the beauty of music is the silence. It's the space.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there would be no music. There would be no rhythm. If you didn't have the space. There would be no sound if you didn't have the space.
And this is something that really interests me because, like, I work with natural medicines, and part of the principle of natural medicine is, well, if you look at conventional medicine, you might use a drug to take over somebody's body. You know, it takes over the physiology of the body, and it says, right, we're going to set this value, whatever it is, we're going to make it like this, and we'll keep it there with the drug. Whereas with one paradigm, at least, of natural medicine, is you'll give a little pulse of something. You say, well, let's take this herb now, or we'll stick some needles in for half an hour, or we'll shine this light on you or something, but it's just a pulse. And then you give the body time to respond to that, you know, so it comes back and reacts. And that's a little bit like a rhythm. You know, if you do that, boom, you've got a pulse, and then you've got a space, and then you've got a pulse, and you've got a space. So again, to go back to that me, 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 me. And if you're toning, maybe just going me, it has one effect. But if you actually go me, 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 it might be more powerful. It can have a different effect, you know.
Maybe that's why chanting exists, because it is rhythmic. That's continual.
And we were talking about, I guess, in the other Zoom calls about entrainment and what we're exposed to. I guess there's no right or wrong about the drugs and what we're exposed to. It's like, what patterns are we used to, and what does our being and our cells actually want to be in rhythm with? And if it responds better or has a better reaction or likes the rhythm of the more natural medicines, and so be it. I guess that's what assists us back to wellness and sound health. Excuse the pun.
That's why the word exists.
And well, those drugs can be great. Sometimes you need to take over the body, because otherwise it's going to die, you know.
Absolutely. It's
great to be able to do that. But on the longer term, the body might lose the ability to do it itself, you know, which is why the pulse gives the chance to respond.
Right. That's why I don't understand why medicine doesn't. Well, I do understand why, but it's a shame that it isn't more a part of medicine. That this complementary way of looking at, healing and the body's natural ability to heal based on sound and rhythms and what the body's asking for. Because I believe that even when you give the body medicine, there's a lot of rhythm going on inside as everything starts to readjust and reposition. And if they listen to it, there would be a whole symphony around getting that body back to this state, a state of health or a state of stability, right? It's just
interesting. There are, in some practices and some, I guess, complementary or holistic practices, there was a guy who does kinesiology, and he said he has a set of tuning forks that are apparently attuned to each different organs. And I'll be interested in see how they worked out what the appropriate frequency is for a particular organ
especially
in your body.
So different.
I know, yeah, it's interesting, yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, then we have Sherry Edwards, who has her little tone box, and she has a website. I don't remember the name of it, but it's Sharry, Sharry. She's created a program that you speak into, and she will literally tell you what's missing from your sound.
Oh yeah, that's great. Yes.
Vitamins, minerals, and where what tone you require to balance again. So she's got a little tone box that creates for you what you require to get to health again. And obviously not wildly funded to grow her business and to grow her research, but she's been chugging along for many years now, and she's acquired a lot of data. And hopefully, I'm not even hopefully, I know that this is the next wave. It's the next wave of how people
sound wave.
Yes, the next sound wave, the next rhythmic wave.
Is it that section already? Okay.
Hey, so what do you do some sound rhythm stuff?
That would be cool. What we could, so I know Robert's a rhythmic kind of guy. He's probably going to get his instruments now. So yeah, but what can we co-create together in terms of?
Cool. Yeah, we could do it like, just like, that'd work. Yeah. So you can just like improvise on whatever sounds we want to make. So, and anyone listening, you can join us because this is going to be effective through time. So we're going to tone, which is making sound, and choose a rhythm. You don't have to stick to it, but you can change it if you want, but follow along with the rhythm. Robert, you're going to play. I don't know if we can.
If we can get in sync.
Yeah, I don't know if we can do that.
A Zoom sync that we could be polyrhythmic.
That'll be polyrhythmic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to start the rhythm, and we'll do like about 3 or 4 minutes. How does that sound, you guys?
Yeah, that sounds cool.
All right.
Can you guys hear that?
Yep.
You keep going, I'll chime in. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, ya, 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 ya. Hey, ya, 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 ya. Hey, ya, 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 ya. Hey, ya, 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 ya. Hey, ya, hey, ya, hey. That was pretty cool. Interesting getting the Wi-Fi, the internet vibe, connected, because it was like we were doing
delay.
Yeah, a little bit of delay, a little bit of, who's the camera going to listen to?
I was like, yeah, it's like, whoa. And I could hear it because now Robert's in the same room because I was like going
So I said, he's in the other room, he's probably hearing that. Pretty cool, though, because we got to a dynamic that was really, really nice.
Yeah, yeah.
So to all of you out there, really have fun with rhythm. Play with it, because it's a gift. It's something that we've been given. It is such an integral part of who we are, is to be rhythmic. And for those of you who think you have no rhythm, you're lying. It's not true. Everyone has rhythm. You may just not have rhythm like everybody else, but you have rhythm. You would be dead if you had no rhythm. Those are the only ones who have no rhythm. And even they have a rhythm.
Gosh, absolutely. It's just allowing yourselves to play, and then you find different rhythms within the rhythm and it's just kind of like going with the flow of that. Yes. So yeah, how much fun can you have?
Yes, indeed. And I just had this vision of, big stadiums filled with people who like do the wave, or right, or they scream out a slogan, everybody together, and the power of sound when everyone is doing it together and they have a consistent rhythm is. Everybody has felt that, even when you were in school, you've felt that vibration. So really, this is our message about rhythm this time. I'm sure we'll come back to it because, sound includes so many different aspects of our lives. So on that note, I think that we are going to call it a day, call it a night for me. I know you're getting in tonight. But I wish you a lovely evening. I know it's about dinner time for you. I just had dinner. I'm going to get on my computer some more and play. And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next time.
Yeah.
Yes, you're on. Sounds good. Thanks for joining us, Robert. Pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me. It was good
I
fun.
shake my rattle for you. It's a pleasure meeting you, and we'll see you next time on Sounds Good to Me as we continue our conversation in sound, peace, love, and rhythm. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.